people are disgusting.
Stand still. Harrison Whitmore's voice sliced through the ballroom. I want to see how wine looks on someone like you. The 14-year-old raised the crystal goblet above Maya Johnson's head. Red wine crashed down her face, soaking her maid's uniform, pooling at her feet. Victoria Whitmore burst into laughter, phone already recording. Oh, Harrison, you're absolutely terrible. Richard Whitmore smirked. Boys will be boys. Try not to stain our floors, girl. Maya didn't move, didn't flinch. Wine dripped from her chin onto marble worth more than most people's homes. She looked directly at Richard Whitmore and said softly, You just made the most expensive mistake of your lives. None of them knew. None of them could possibly imagine. The Maid standing before them controlled a $2 billion empire, the partnership they desperately needed to survive. $650 million, their only lifeline. Gone, with one glass of wine. Before we continue, comment below what city you're watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you absolutely cannot miss. Now let me tell you how this satisfying moment came to be. 3 months before that satisfying night, Maya Johnson sat in her corner office on the 47th floor of Sunrise Tower, studying a folder marked Whitmore Energy Group, Confidential. Her assistant, Devin Park, stood across the desk, tablet in hand. The numbers check out, Maya. Their infrastructure is solid. The partnership would give us access to their distribution network across 12 states. Maya flipped through the pages slowly. And their reputation, clean, publicly at least, old money family, foundation work, charity galas, the whole package. Maya closed the folder. Old money. Is that a problem? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she turned her chair toward the window. Manhattan stretched below her, a kingdom of glass and steel that she had conquered through sheer force of will. Devin, do you know how I started this company? You've told me. Trailer park in Alabama, worked 3 jobs through college, built Sunrise from a garage with $7,000. That's the press release version. Maya turned back to face him. Do you want to know the real story? Devin set down his tablet. In 5 years of working for Maya Johnson, she had never once talked about her past beyond the carefully crafted narrative. I was 7 years old, Maya began. My mother cleaned houses for wealthy families in Birmingham. One day, she took me with her because she couldn't afford a babysitter. I sat in the back of her truck for 3 hours while she scrubbed toilets for a family called the Pattersons. Devin listened silently. When she came out, she was crying. I asked her what happened. She said Mrs. Patterson's son had called her a word I didn't understand yet, and Mrs. Patterson had laughed, and my mother had to smile and keep working because we needed $17 for my school shoes. Maya's voice remained steady, but her hands had curled into fists on the desk. Old money families, Devin, they pass down more than wealth. They pass down the belief that certain people exist to serve them, that cruelty to the help is just tradition. You think the Whitmores are like that? I don't know. That's the problem. Their public image is perfect, too perfect. Maya picked up the folder again. $650 million is a lot to risk on people I've never truly seen. What do you mean, truly seen? Maya was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice had changed, harder, more determined. When people know who I am, they perform, they smile, they say the right things, but when they think no one important is watching. She shook her head. That's when you see who they really are. Devin's eyes widened. Maya, what are you thinking? The Whitmore Foundation Centennial Gala is in 3 months, 400 guests, the social event of the season. I know. We received an invitation. You're supposed to be honored for your work in clean energy. Cancel my appearance as a guest. Maya's eyes met his. I'm going as a server instead. Devin nearly dropped his tablet. You're joking. Do I look like I'm joking? Maya, you're a billionaire. You can't just serve champagne at a party. What if someone recognizes you? They won't. Maya smiled, but there was no warmth in it. People like the Whitmores don't look at the help. We're invisible to them, furniture with a pulse. That's exactly what I'm counting on. This is insane. This is due diligence, the most important due diligence of my career. Maya stood up. Contact the catering company. I want to be assigned to the Whitmore Gala. And Devon, not a word to anyone. Not the board, not legal, no one. Devon stared at her for a long moment. Then he slowly nodded. If you're really doing this, I'm not letting you go alone. I'll be there too. Security, backup, something. Fine, but you stay invisible too. If this goes wrong, it won't go wrong. You've never failed at anything in your life. Maya picked up the Whitmore folder again. There's a first time for everything. The next 3 months were a masterclass in preparation. Maya hired a former domestic worker to train her. 63-year-old Beatrice Hammond had spent 40 years serving wealthy families before retiring. She met Maya in secret, teaching her everything. Head down when you enter a room, Beatrice instructed during their first session. Never make eye contact unless spoken to directly. Move quickly, but never run. Anticipate needs before they're expressed. Maya practiced carrying trays until her arms ached. She learned to pour champagne without a single drop spilling. She memorized the rhythm of service, appear, serve, disappear. Most importantly, Beatrice said during their final session, remember that to them you don't exist. You're not a person. You're a function. The moment you forget that the moment you react like a human being with feelings, they'll notice you. And that's when things go wrong. What if they're cruel? Beatrice's weathered face hardened. They will be cruel. That's not a possibility. That's a certainty. The question is whether you can take it without breaking. Maya thought of her mother. $17. A word she couldn't repeat. A smile forced through tears. I can take it. 2 weeks before the gala, Maya received an unexpected phone call. Ms. Johnson, my name is Dorothy Mae Collins. You don't know me, but I know you. I worked for the Whitmore family for 31 years. Maya sat up straighter. How did you get this number? I have my ways. Please just listen. I heard through certain channels that you're considering a partnership with the Whitmores. I'm calling to warn you. Warn me about what? Dorothy's voice dropped lower. They're not what they seem. The charity work, the foundation, the public image. It's all a mask. Behind closed doors, they're monsters. I've seen things, documented things, things that would destroy them if they ever came to light. Maya's pulse quickened. What kind of things? Discrimination, wage theft, cover-ups, financial crimes. I kept records of everything. Journals, recordings, evidence, 31 years of evidence. Why are you telling me this? Because you're the first person powerful enough to do something about it, and because I'm 72 years old, Ms. Johnson. I'm tired of carrying these secrets alone. I'm tired of watching them hurt people and face no consequences. Maya was silent for a long moment. Can we meet? Not yet. Not until you see for yourself what they're really like. Go to that gala. Watch them when they think no one important is looking. Then call me, and I'll show you everything. The line went dead. Maya stared at her phone for a full minute. Then she called Devon. The gala plan is still on, but now there's more at stake than I thought. The night of the Whitmore Foundation Centennial Gala arrived cold and clear. Maya stood in the service entrance of the Grand Meridian Hotel, wearing a black and white uniform that felt like a costume from another life. Devon's voice crackled through the tiny earpiece hidden beneath her hair. I'm in position. Security camera feeds are on my tablet. I can see the whole ballroom. Good. Stay alert. Maya, are you sure about this? There's still time to walk away. She thought of her mother, of Dorothy's warning, of every black woman who had ever been humiliated by people who believed their money made them gods. I'm sure. Going silent now. She removed the earpiece and tucked it into her pocket. From this moment on, she was alone. The ballroom was everything she expected. Crystal chandeliers casting prismatic light, 400 guests in designer evening wear. champagne flowing like water, the air thick with expensive perfume and casual privilege. Maya picked up her first tray of champagne flutes and stepped into the crowd. Invisibility was immediate and absolute. She moved through clusters of Manhattan's elite, and not a single person looked at her face. They looked at the tray, at the glasses, at each other, never at her. "You there?" A woman in diamonds snapped her fingers. "Champagne, quickly." Maya served her without a word. The woman took the glass and turned away without acknowledgement. "Watch where you're going," a man barked when Maya stepped aside to let him pass. He hadn't been anywhere near her. "Sorry, sir." He was already gone, complaints forgotten. For 2 hours, Maya circulated through the gala, a ghost among the glittering. She heard conversations about stock portfolios and vacation homes. She witnessed casual cruelty dispensed like party favors. She saw the wealthy guests treat the service staff like obstacles to be navigated around. But she hadn't encountered the Whitmores yet. That changed at precisely 9:47 p.m. "Where's the good champagne?" Richard Whitmore's voice carried across the room. "Not this swill. The Krug. I specifically ordered Krug for the VIP section." Maya watched him corner a young server, a girl who couldn't have been older than 20. The girl's hands trembled as she tried to explain. "Sir, I'm sorry. I was told to bring what was on the—" "Do I look like I care what you were told?" Richard stepped closer. "I told them Krug, Krug. Is that too complicated for you? Should I spell it slower?" "No, sir, I'll get it right away. I'm sorry." "You're sorry. They're always sorry." Richard turned to a circle of his friends, gesturing at the girl. "This is what happens when you hire from agencies. No training, no standards, no class." His friends laughed. The girl fled toward the kitchen, tears streaming down her face. Maya watched it all. Her grip on her tray tightened until her knuckles went white. "Careful," a quiet voice said beside her. "You're about to crack that crystal." Maya turned. An elderly black woman in a supervisor's uniform stood next to her. Her name tag read, Henrietta. "First time working an event like this?" Henrietta asked. "That obvious. Only to someone who's been doing this for 40 years. Henrietta's eyes were kind but tired. "You get used to it. The way they talk to us. The way they look through us. You have to, or you won't survive." "How do you stand it?" "I think about my grandchildren, their college funds, their futures." Henrietta straightened a glass on Maya's tray. "I think about the fact that one day they won't have to do this. One day they'll be the ones being served." Maya felt something twist in her chest. "What's your granddaughter studying?" "Engineering. First one in our family to go to college." Pride flickered in Henrietta's eyes. "She's going to build bridges. Real ones, not just the ones we have to cross every day in places like this." "She sounds amazing." "She is." Henrietta glanced toward the VIP section. "Better get moving. Mrs. Whitmore is waving for service." Maya followed her gaze. Victoria Whitmore stood at the center of a group of society women, her hand raised imperiously. "Wish me luck," Maya said. "Honey luck has nothing to do with surviving people like them. Just keep your head down and your mouth shut. That's all any of us can do." Maya approached Victoria Whitmore's circle with her tray of champagne. 3 other women surrounded her, all dripping with jewelry that cost more than most people's houses. "Finally," Victoria said, snatching a glass. "I've been waiting for ages. Where do they find these people?" "Agencies," one of her friends replied. "Richard says it's impossible to get good help anymore." "Tell me about it. Our last housekeeper was hopeless. Couldn't even fold a napkin properly. We had to let her go right before Thanksgiving." "How inconvenient." "Completely. I had to order pre-made pies like some kind of commoner." Victoria laughed at her own joke. "At least this one seems competent enough. You there. What's your name?" It took Maya a moment to realize Victoria was talking to her. "Maya, ma'am." "Maya." Victoria's nose wrinkled slightly. "Well, Maya makes sure our glasses stay full tonight. Can you manage that?" "Yes, ma'am." "Good. At least she speaks English. The last one barely understood basic instructions." Victoria turned back to her friends, dismissing Maya from existence. "Anyway, did I tell you about the new decorator we hired? Absolutely divine. He did the Hamptons house and you simply must see it." Maya stood still for a moment processing, then she moved away, her expression carefully neutral. But inside, something was burning. The next hour brought more of the same. Maya watched the Whitmores work the room, all smiles and charm for their wealthy guests, all contempt and cruelty for the staff. She saw Richard grab a waiter's arm hard enough to leave marks because a tray of canapes wasn't arranged to his liking. She heard Victoria mock an elderly server's accent to her friends, mimicking his Caribbean lilt for laughs. She witnessed both of them treat human beings as props in their grand performance of wealth and status. Dorothy May Collins had been right. Behind the mask, they were monsters. Maya's phone vibrated in her pocket. A text from Devon. "Harrison Whitmore just arrived, East Entrance, heading your way with friends." She looked up and saw them coming. 4 boys in prep school blazers pushing through the crowd with the swagger of young princes. Harrison Whitmore III led the pack, his face wearing an expression Maya recognized instantly, the look of someone searching for entertainment at someone else's expense. "This should be good," one of his friends said, phone already raised. "Watch and learn," Harrison replied. "My dad taught me exactly how to handle the help." They scanned the room looking for a target. Maya could have walked away, could have disappeared into the kitchen, could have avoided what was coming. But she stayed. She needed to see exactly how deep this family's cruelty ran. Harrison's eyes landed on her. "Look at this one," he said loudly, "standing there like she owns the place." His friends snickered. Several nearby guests glanced over. "Can I get you something young, sir?" Maya asked, her voice polite and even. "Did I say you could talk to me?" Harrison stepped closer. "I didn't say you could talk to me." "My apologies, I was simply offering service." "Service." Harrison's lip curled. "You want to know what kind of service you can provide?" He grabbed a full goblet of red wine from a passing tray. His friends raised their phones higher. Maya's pulse quickened, but her expression remained calm. She thought of her mother, of Beatrice's training, of Henrietta's tired eyes. "Keep your head down, keep your mouth shut." "Stand still," Harrison commanded. "I want to see how wine looks on someone like you." The ballroom seemed to hold its breath. Maya made a choice that would change everything. She stood still. The wine arced through the air in slow motion. It hit her face first cold and shocking, then cascaded down her neck, her chest, her uniform. Red spreading like blood across white fabric, dripping onto marble floors that had probably never seen such a stain. Gasps rippled through the crowd, then silence. Then the sound that would haunt the Whitmores for the rest of their lives. Laughter. Victoria Whitmore's delighted shriek cut through the quiet. "Oh, Harrison, you're absolutely terrible!" She had her phone raised, recording, her eyes bright with amusement at her son's cruelty. Richard Whitmore approached, hands in his pockets, smile playing at his lips. "Boys will be boys," he announced to everyone within earshot. "Just a bit of fun. Try not to stain the carpet, girl. These galas weren't designed for your kind." Your kind. Those words hit Maya harder than the wine. She stood motionless. Wine dripping from her chin, soaking into her clothes, running down her arms. The expensive uniform ruined. Her carefully styled hair plastered to her face. But she didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't run. She reached for a napkin from a horrified waiter and dabbed at her neck with deliberate calm. Every movement precise, controlled. Harrison's smirk flickered. This wasn't the reaction he wanted. His victims were supposed to cry, to beg, to give him a show. "What's wrong?" he taunted. "Cat got your tongue." Maya finished wiping her neck. She folded the napkin with care and placed it on her tray. Then she looked up, not at Harrison, not at Victoria, directly into Richard Whitmore's eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. Her voice carried in the tense silence. "You've just clarified my final decision." Confusion crossed Richard's face. "Excuse me." Victoria lowered her phone slightly. "What did she say?" "I said thank you." Maya's voice was steady as steel. "This has been very educational." She turned and walked away, each step measured, dignified, wine dripping behind her like a trail marking her path. The crowd parted before her. No one helped, No one spoke. They just watched the black maid in the ruined uniform walk through them with the bearing of royalty. Harrison called after her. "That's right. Walk away. Know your place." Maya didn't look back. She pushed through the service entrance and kept walking until she reached the private garage where Marcus waited with her car. His eyes went wide. "Ms. Johnson, what happened? Are you all right?" "I'm fine, Marcus." She climbed into the back seat, leaving wine stains on the leather. "Take me home and cancel every meeting with Whitmore Energy tomorrow. All of them. All of them. But the board. All of them." Marcus knew better than to argue. He started the engine. Maya pulled out her phone as they merged into traffic. The screen glowed in the darkness as she composed a message to her legal team. "Draft a statement announcing the termination of all negotiations with Whitmore Energy Group. Reason fundamental value misalignment. Send to all major business outlets at 8 a.m. tomorrow." The reply came immediately. "Maya, this is a $650 million deal. Are you certain?" She thought of her mother's tears, of Henrietta's tired eyes, of Dorothy's 31 years of evidence, of Harrison's cruel smirk and Victoria's delighted laughter, and Richard's casual dismissal of her humanity. "I'm certain. Completely certain." She made one more call. Dorothy Mae Collins answered on the first ring. "You saw them," Dorothy said. It wasn't a question. "I saw everything. The sun poured wine on my head. The mother filmed it laughing. The father told me the gala wasn't designed for my kind." Dorothy was silent for a moment. "Then you understand why I kept records all those years." "I understand. I want to meet. Tomorrow morning. Bring everything." "Everything, Ms. Johnson. I have enough evidence to bring down their entire empire. Tax fraud, embezzlement, discrimination, cover-ups, 31 years of crimes they thought they buried." Maya watched the city lights blur past her window. "Then let's make sure they stay buried, underneath the justice they've been avoiding for 3 decades. Where do you want to meet?" "My office. 8 a.m. Security will have your name." "I'll be there. And Ms. Johnson?" "Yes." Dorothy's voice cracked with emotion. "Thank you for standing there, for not crying, for showing them that their cruelty doesn't break us." Maya closed her eyes. The wine was drying on her skin, sticky and uncomfortable. "It doesn't break us, Dorothy. It just makes us stronger." She ended the call and leaned back against the seat. Somewhere behind her, the Whitmores were celebrating. Harrison was showing off the video to his friends. Victoria was bragging to her society circle. Richard was closing deals and drinking champagne, completely unaware that his world was about to collapse. They had no idea. No idea that the invisible maid controlled the fate of their company. No idea that their only lifeline had just been severed. No idea that a 72-year-old housekeeper had been documenting their crimes for 3 decades. No idea that by morning everything would change. Maya's phone buzzed. A message from Devon. "The video is spreading. Someone at the gala posted it publicly. Already 50,000 views and climbing." She smiled grimly and typed back. "Let it spread. By tomorrow, everyone will know who the Whitmores really are." "What's the plan?" Maya looked at her wine-stained reflection in the car window. The woman looking back at her was different from the one who had walked into that gala. Harder, more determined. "The plan is simple, Devon. We're going to destroy them. Not just cancel the deal. Not just walk away. We're going to expose every crime, every cover-up, every lie they've ever told. And if they fight back, they will fight back. They'll use every weapon they have, their money, their connections, their lawyers. They'll try to destroy me before I can destroy them." "Then why do it?" Maya thought of her mother, of the $17 and the smile forced through tears, of the promise made in a rusted pickup truck 31 years ago. Because one day Devon people like the Whitmores need to learn that money can't protect them from consequences, that the people they treat like furniture are human beings, that cruelty has a price. And you're going to make them pay it. Every single cent. The car pulled into her building's private garage. Security had already doubled their presence in anticipation of whatever tomorrow would bring. Maya stepped out, leaving wine-stained footprints on the concrete. Tomorrow the real war would begin, but tonight she allowed herself one small satisfaction: the memory of Richard Whitmore's confused face when she thanked him, the flicker of uncertainty in Victoria's eyes, the wavering of Harrison's smirk. They had sensed something was wrong, they just didn't know what yet. By morning they would, and by then it would be far too late. The clock on Maya's nightstand read 5:47 a.m. when her phone exploded with notifications. She hadn't slept. The wine had washed away hours ago, but the memory of Richard Whitmore's sneer remained burned into her mind. She had spent the night reviewing documents, preparing statements, coordinating with her legal team across different time zones. Now the first domino was about to fall. Devon's name flashed on her screen. She answered immediately. "It's done," he said. The press release just went live. Every major business outlet picked it up simultaneously. Maya pulled up her tablet. Headlines filled the screen. Sunrise Clean Energy terminates $650 million Whitmore partnership. Billionaire CEO cancels deal citing value misalignment. Whitmore Energy stock plummets in pre-market trading. How bad? Maya asked. They're down 18% already. Trading hasn't even officially opened yet. Good. What about the video? Devon's voice tightened. That's why I'm calling. Maya, it's everywhere. Someone at the gala identified you. They connected the Maid in the video to Maya Johnson, CEO of Sunrise Energy. Maya's grip on the phone tightened. How many views? 4 million and climbing. The comments are insane. People are calling you a queen. They're calling the Whitmores monsters. It's the #1 trending topic nationwide. She closed her eyes. This was happening faster than she had anticipated. The plan had been to control the narrative, to release information strategically. But the internet had other ideas. Get the team together. Conference call in 30 minutes. We need to get ahead of this. Already done. And Maya Dorothy May Collins is in the lobby. She's been waiting since 5. Maya stood up. Send her to my office. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She ended the call and moved to her closet. No more uniforms. No more invisibility. Today she would face the world as herself. 30 minutes later, Maya walked into Sunrise Tower wearing a white blazer that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Her heels clicked against marble floors that belonged to her. Every employee she passed straightened up, nodded respectfully, called her Ms. Johnson. The contrast to last night couldn't have been starker. Dorothy May Collins sat in Maya's office, a weathered leather satchel clutched in her lap. 72 years old, silver hair pulled back in a neat bun, hands trembling slightly as they rested on decades of secrets. Maya closed the door behind her. Thank you for coming, Dorothy. Thank you for believing me, Dorothy's voice cracked. 31 years I kept these records. 31 years I watched them hurt people and get away with it. I thought I'd die with these secrets still locked in my closet. Maya sat across from her. Tell me everything. Dorothy opened the satchel. Journals spilled out, cassette tapes, photographs, USB drives, manila envelopes stuffed with documents. I started keeping records my first week working for them, Dorothy began. March 1992. Richard Whitmore Sr. was still alive then. He called me a word I won't repeat in front of you and told me I was lucky to scrub his floors. His son learned from him. They all learned from him. It's passed down like an inheritance. The cruelty, the contempt, the belief that people like us exist to serve them. Dorothy pulled out the first journal. Her handwriting was meticulous, each entry dated and detailed. March 15, 1992. Mr. Whitmore Sr. ordered me to work through my lunch break without pay. When I asked about overtime, he laughed and said I should be grateful for the opportunity. She turned the pages. Year after year of documented abuse. June 7, 1995. Mrs. Whitmore fired Maria Santos without cause. Maria had complained about sexual comments from Mr. Whitmore Jr. They blacklisted her from every agency in the city. They destroyed her career because she spoke up. They destroyed dozens of careers. Anyone who complained, anyone who pushed back, Anyone who didn't smile and take it. Dorothy's eyes hardened. I watched it happen over and over. I kept my head down. I kept my job. And I kept records. She pulled out a small recorder. 10 years ago, I started carrying this. They never noticed. To them, I was invisible, just the help. She pressed play. Richard Whitmore's voice filled the office, clear and damning. We need to get rid of Henderson before the audit. The last thing we need is some diversity hire asking questions about the books. Another voice, his CFO. He's on to something, Richard. If he keeps digging, then make sure he stops digging. Plant something in his office if you have to. These people always have something to hide. Maya's blood ran cold. When was this recorded? 8 years ago. Henderson was their head of internal compliance. Black man, Harvard-educated, stellar reputation. 2 weeks after this conversation, he was fired for alleged misconduct. They planted evidence. I have the documents proving it. She spread papers across Maya's desk. Memos discussing the frame-up, emails coordinating the cover-up, financial records showing payments to people who helped destroy Henderson's reputation. He couldn't find work for 3 years after that, Dorothy said quietly. Lost his house. His wife left him. Last I heard, he was working as a security guard at a mall. Maya stared at the evidence. This is criminal conspiracy. This is just one example. I have dozens more. The next hour was a descent into darkness. Dorothy revealed layer after layer of Whitmore crimes, tax evasion schemes spanning decades, systematic wage theft from minority employees, sexual harassment settlements buried under non-disclosure agreements, environmental violations covered up with bribes to local officials. The foundation is a fraud, Dorothy explained, pulling out financial documents. They funnel money through the charity, write it off as donations, then redirect it to shell companies they control. The IRS never caught on because they have friends in the right places. Maya's hands shook as she examined the evidence. How much are we talking about? Over the last 20 years, at least $70 million. Devon burst through the door without knocking. Maya, you need to see this right now. He thrust his tablet at her. A video was playing. Harrison Whitmore crying on a morning news program, his mother's arm wrapped protectively around him. She threatened me, Harrison sobbed. Before the gala started, she cornered me backstage. She said if my family didn't give her what she wanted, she'd destroy us. I was scared. That's why I reacted. I'm just a kid. The interviewer leaned forward with practiced concern. That must have been terrifying, Harrison. It was. I didn't know what to do. My dad always taught me to stand up to bullies, but she was so aggressive. Victoria Whitmore's voice cut in cold and calculated. No child should have to face intimidation from a CEO throwing a tantrum over business negotiations. We're exploring all legal options to protect our son from this predator. Maya felt her stomach drop. They're lying. I never spoke to him before the wine incident. Of course they're lying, Devon said. But they've been planning this. Look at the production value, the timing. They had this ready to go. Dorothy stood up slowly. They did the same thing to Henderson. When he started asking questions, they painted him as unstable, aggressive, dangerous. It's their playbook. Maya's phone rang. Her lawyer. James, tell me you're watching this. I'm watching. They've also filed a lawsuit. Defamation, breach of contract, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. They're seeking $300 million in damages. $300 million. They're trying to bury you in legal fees, make the fight so expensive you'll settle just to make it stop. Maya looked at Dorothy's mountain of evidence, at Devon's worried face, at the video of a crying teenager spinning lies that millions of people would believe. They picked the wrong fight, she said quietly. Maya, I have to warn you, Gregory Stone is leading their legal team. He's never lost a case. He's destroyed careers, reputations, entire companies. He plays dirty, and he plays to win. So do I. She ended the call and turned to Dorothy. How many recordings do you have of Richard Whitmore committing crimes? Hundreds. Financial documents, enough to put them in prison. Witnesses. Other employees who experienced what you experienced. Dorothy nodded slowly. There's a network of us, former staff who stayed in touch over the years, people who kept their own records. We never thought anyone would believe us. I believe you. Maya's voice hardened. And by tonight, the whole world will believe you too. The conference room filled with Sunrise's senior leadership within the hour. Chief Legal Counsel Marissa Chen sat at Maya's right hand, already reviewing Dorothy's documents. CFO James Martinez ran calculations on potential financial impacts. Communications Director Angela Foster coordinated with media teams across the country. The Whitmores just held a press conference, Angela announced. Richard is calling you emotionally unstable. He's claiming the partnership fell apart because of your erratic behavior. He's lying. I know, but the narrative is splitting. Half the public supports you, half believes the crying kid. Then we need to change the narrative entirely. Maya stood up. We're not playing defense anymore. We're going on offense. She pulled up Dorothy's evidence on the main screen. What you're about to see is documentation of 3 decades of criminal activity by the Whitmore family in tax fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy to destroy careers, discrimination, cover-ups, everything. The room fell silent as the scope of the evidence became clear. They thought they could bully me into submission, Maya continued. They thought their money and their lawyers and their media connections made them untouchable. They were wrong. Marissa looked up from the documents. Maya, this is explosive, but if we release this without proper verification, they'll sue us into oblivion. Then verify it. I want forensic accountants reviewing every financial document. I want digital experts authenticating every recording. I want lawyers preparing everything for federal submission. Federal submission? We're not just fighting a PR war, we're building a criminal case. The SEC, the IRS, the FBI. By the time we're done, the Whitmores won't just be embarrassed, they'll be indicted. James Martinez raised his hand. Maya, the board is concerned. Our stock dropped 11% this morning on the lawsuit news. If this drags out, it won't drag out. We're going to end this fast and hard. Maya pulled up another document. This is their fake security footage, the one supposedly showing me threatening Harrison. The grainy video played on screen, a figure that looked vaguely like Maya confronting the boy in a hallway. Look at timestamp 7:43:15, the reflection in the door handle. Everyone leaned forward. The reflection shows an empty hallway, no figures at all. The video was digitally altered. We can prove this. Dr. Sarah Walsh at MIT already confirmed it. The metadata shows the file was created at 3:47 a.m. yesterday, hours after the gala ended. They fabricated evidence. Angela's eyes widened. If we can prove they manufactured evidence in a federal lawsuit, it's not just bad for their case, it's a crime. Filing false evidence, fraud upon the court, obstruction of justice. Maya looked around the room at her team, at the people who had helped her build an empire from nothing, who had believed in her vision when everyone else said a black woman from a trailer park couldn't compete with old money dynasties. They thought pouring wine on me was funny. They thought having their son cry on television would make me back down. They thought their lies would bury the truth. She straightened her shoulders. They were wrong about everything. The press conference was scheduled for 6 p.m. that evening. But first, Maya had a visitor she didn't expect. Security called her office at 4:47 p.m. Ms. Johnson, there's a man in the lobby insisting on seeing you. Says his name is David Henderson. Maya's breath caught. The internal compliance officer the Whitmores had destroyed 8 years ago. Send him up. David Henderson entered her office 10 minutes later. He was thinner than the photos Dorothy had shown her, grayer. The expensive suit and confident posture she had seen in his old company headshot had been replaced by khakis and a windbreaker. But his eyes still held intelligence and pain. Mr. Henderson, please sit down. I saw the news. His voice was rough, unused to speaking in corporate settings anymore. I saw what they did to you, and I saw that you're fighting back. I'm fighting back. Good. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a flash drive. Because I kept records too. Maya took the drive slowly. What's on this? Everything they planted to destroy me, and proof that they planted it. I've been holding on to this for 8 years, waiting for someone brave enough to use it. Why didn't you come forward yourself? Henderson laughed bitterly. With what money? What lawyers? They took everything from me, Ms. Johnson. My career, my reputation, my family. I've been working as a security guard for 6 years, watching people walk past me who used to ask for my advice on million-dollar decisions. He leaned forward. They do this to people like us. They use their power to destroy anyone who threatens their control. And they get away with it because we don't have the resources to fight back. You do now. Henderson stared at her. What do you mean? I mean, I'm hiring you, effective immediately, full salary restoration, benefits, and a position on the team that's going to take them down. His eyes filled with tears. Ms. Johnson, David, they stole 8 years of your life. Help me make sure they never do that to anyone again. He nodded, unable to speak. Maya looked at her watch. 5:15 p.m. 45 minutes until she faced the world. Her phone rang. Devon. Maya, we have a problem. A big one. What now? Your mother. Someone leaked her arrest record from 30 years ago. The Whitmores are running stories calling it evidence of generational instability. Maya's blood went cold. Her mother's greatest shame. A bounced check during a medical emergency when Maya was 12. Her mother had spent 6 months terrified they would lose their trailer, their car, everything. How did they get that? So private investigators. They've been digging into your background for weeks. This was planned. My mother is 71 years old. She's been clean her entire life. That arrest was dismissed. I know, but the headlines are already running. Like mother, like daughter, the Morton pattern of instability. Maya closed her eyes. She could picture her mother right now sitting in her small apartment in Alabama, watching the news, seeing her worst moment broadcast to millions. Get my mother on the phone, now. The call connected 2 minutes later. Baby? Her mother's voice was small, broken. Baby, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry they found out. I never wanted. Mama, stop. You have nothing to apologize for. But they're saying I'm crazy. They're saying you're crazy because of me. I never wanted to hurt you. Mama, listen to me. Maya's voice was fierce. You worked 3 jobs to feed me. You scrubbed toilets so I could go to school. You sacrificed everything so I could build this company. You are not crazy. You are the strongest woman I have ever known. Silence on the line, then quiet sobbing. They want me to be ashamed of where I come from, Maya continued. They want me to hide my past, but I'm not hiding anything. Tonight, when I stand in front of those cameras, I'm going to tell the world exactly who you are. The woman who raised me. The woman who taught me that dignity can't be taken unless you surrender it. Maya, I love you, Mama. Watch the news tonight and be proud. She hung up and turned to Devon. Let's go. It's time to end this. The press conference drew every major network in the country. Maya stood backstage, reviewing her notes one final time. Dorothy stood beside her, clutching her satchel. Henderson waited nearby flash drive, secure in his pocket. The full weight of 30 years of evidence was about to be unleashed on national television. Nervous? Devon asked. No. Maya looked at him. I've been preparing for this moment my entire life. I just didn't know it until now. The stage manager signaled. Ms. Johnson, you're on in 60 seconds. Maya straightened her white blazer. The same color as the uniform she had worn at the gala. The same color as surrender. But she wasn't surrendering. She was declaring war. She walked onto the stage. 200 reporters fell silent. Cameras flashed. The world watched. Good evening. Maya began, her voice clear and strong. 3 nights ago, I attended the Whitmore Foundation Gala as a server. I wanted to see how the Whitmore family treated people they believed were beneath them. I got my answer. She paused, letting the words sink in. Harrison Whitmore III poured wine on my head. His mother filmed it laughing. His father told me the gala wasn't designed for my kind. What they didn't know was that I am Maya Johnson, CEO of Sunrise Clean Energy, the woman who controlled whether their company survived or died. Murmurs rippled through the press corps. This morning, the Whitmores released a fake video claiming I threatened their son. I have forensic proof that video was digitally fabricated. They filed a lawsuit built on manufactured evidence. They leaked my mother's 30-year-old arrest record to paint me as unstable. Maya's voice hardened. But I'm not here to defend myself. I'm here to expose them. She gestured to the screens behind her. What you're about to see is documentation of 3 decades of criminal activity by the Whitmore family. Tax fraud, embezzlement, discrimination, conspiracy to destroy careers, cover-ups, all preserved by the people they thought were too invisible to matter. Dorothy walked onto the stage, then Henderson. Then one by one, a dozen more former Whitmore employees who had kept their own records, who had waited years for this moment. Maya looked directly into the cameras. To Richard and Victoria Whitmore, you thought you could pour wine on me, and I would stay silent. You thought your money made you untouchable. You thought your lies would bury the truth. She straightened her shoulders. You were wrong. The screens lit up with evidence, documents, recordings, photographs, 3 decades of crimes laid bare for the world to see. And somewhere across the city, in a mansion worth $40 million, Richard Whitmore watched his empire begin to burn. The screens behind Maya went dark at 7:23 p.m. For a moment, the press room held its breath. 200 reporters sat frozen processing the avalanche of evidence they had just witnessed. 3 decades of Whitmore crimes laid bare in 90 minutes. Then the questions exploded. Ms. Johnson, when did you first suspect the Whitmores of criminal activity? Will you be pursuing criminal charges? How do you respond to claims that you fabricated this evidence? Maya raised her hand for silence. All documentation has been submitted to the SEC, the IRS, and the FBI. Every recording has been authenticated by independent forensic experts. Every witness statement has been notarized. This is not speculation. This is fact. What about Harrison Whitmore's accusation that you threatened him? I never spoke to Harrison Whitmore before he poured wine on my head. The video they released was digitally manufactured. Dr. Sarah Walsh from MIT will be available to explain the technical proof of that fabrication. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Devon's text was urgent. Check the news, now. Maya kept her composure. I'll take 3 more questions, then my legal team will be available for follow-up. But her heart was racing. Something had gone wrong. She finished the press conference at 7:41 p.m. and immediately found Devon backstage. What happened? Devon's face was pale. Gregory Stone just held his own press conference, the Whitmore's lawyer. And he's claiming all of Dorothy's evidence was stolen, that she broke into their private files, that everything she gathered is inadmissible and obtained through criminal means. Maya's stomach dropped. That's a lie. I know, but he filed charges against Dorothy, criminal theft, breaking and entering. They're trying to arrest her. Maya spun around. Dorothy was standing near the exit, her weathered face suddenly aged 10 years. Dorothy, we need to get you somewhere safe. Right now. I never stole anything. Dorothy's voice trembled. I documented what I witnessed. I recorded conversations I was present for. I photographed documents they left in plain sight. I never broke into anything. It doesn't matter what the truth is. They're going to use the legal system to silence you. Devon grabbed Maya's arm. There's more. 3 of our board members just called. They're demanding an emergency meeting. They want to discuss leadership concerns. Leadership concerns? They're scared, Maya. Whitmore's counterattack is working. Our stock dropped another 15% in the last hour. Partners are getting cold feet. Maya felt the walls closing in. Everything she had built, everything she had sacrificed, everything she had worked for her entire life, it was all starting to crumble. Her phone rang. Her lawyer, James. Maya, I have bad news. Gregory Stone just filed an emergency injunction. He's trying to freeze all of Sunrise's assets pending investigation of Dorothy's evidence-gathering methods. He can't do that. He's doing it. The hearing is tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. If the judge grants it, we won't be able to access our own accounts. Payroll operations, everything stops. Maya closed her eyes. How is this possible? Stone knows every judge in this district. He's been donating to their campaigns for 20 years. The system is rigged in his favor. Then we fight in a different system. What do you mean? The court of public opinion. If they want a war, I'll give them a war. She hung up and turned to her team. Devin, I need every piece of positive coverage from tonight compiled and amplified. Angela, coordinate with our social media team. I want testimonials from every person the Whitmores ever hurt. Dorothy, you're coming with me. We're not letting them arrest you. Where are we going? My apartment. It's the most secure location in the city. We'll regroup there. The drive to Maya's penthouse took 47 minutes through Manhattan traffic. Every minute felt like an hour. Maya watched the news on her tablet, seeing the narrative shift in real time. Gregory Stone was a master of media manipulation. Within 2 hours, he had transformed the story from Whitmore crimes exposed to billionaire CEO orchestrates elaborate smear campaign. They're calling you a fraud, Devin said quietly. They're saying you staged the whole gala incident to create sympathy. Of course they are. Some people are believing it. Maya watched the comments section scroll past, half support, half condemnation. The truth was drowning in a sea of manufactured doubt. Her phone rang again, a number she didn't recognize. Hello, Ms. Johnson. A woman's voice, crisp and professional. This is Margaret Chen from Quantum Solutions. I'm calling to inform you that we are suspending all contracts with Sunrise Energy effective immediately. Maya's blood ran cold. Quantum is our largest client. I'm aware. However, given the current legal uncertainties surrounding your company, our board has determined that continued association poses unacceptable risk. Margaret, you know these accusations are false. What I know is irrelevant. What matters is perception. And right now, the perception is that Sunrise is in chaos. I'm sorry, Ms. Johnson. This decision is final. The line went dead. Devin stared at her. Quantum, gone. That's 30% of our revenue. I know. The car pulled into Maya's building at 9:47 p.m. Security met them at the private entrance, faces grim. Ms. Johnson, we have a situation. What now? Protesters outside, about 200 of them, half supporting you, half calling for your arrest. And there's been some vandalism. Maya's heart sank. Show me. They took the service elevator to avoid the lobby. But when they reached her floor, Maya saw it immediately. Someone had spray-painted her front door. Racial slurs in dripping red paint. Words she hadn't heard since childhood. Words that cut deeper than any wine ever could. Dorothy gasped. Oh, Lord! Devin's jaw tightened. We're calling the police. The police? Maya laughed bitterly. Half of them probably donated to Stone's campaigns, too. She walked past the vandalism and unlocked her door. Inside, her penthouse felt different, smaller, less safe. The floor-to-ceiling windows that had once made her feel like she owned the city now made her feel exposed, vulnerable, watched. Her security chief approached. Ms. Johnson, we've detected surveillance equipment across the street. Someone is photographing your apartment. Of course they are. She moved away from the windows and sat down in her living room. Dorothy settled beside her, clutching her satchel like a lifeline. I'm sorry, Dorothy whispered. I should never have come to you. I've destroyed everything you built. You didn't destroy anything. They did. But if you hadn't come forward, they would have continued hurting people for another 30 years. You did the right thing, Dorothy. Never apologize for the right thing. Devin appeared with his tablet. Maya, the board meeting is scheduled for 8 a.m. tomorrow, 1 hour before the asset freeze hearing. Who called it? Marcus Webb. He's been talking to the other members all night. Word is he wants to vote on your removal. My removal? He's arguing that your personal vendetta against the Whitmores is destroying shareholder value, that you've lost perspective, that the company needs new leadership to survive. Maya felt something crack inside her. Marcus Webb. She had mentored him for 3 years. She had promoted him when no one else believed in him. She had trusted him. Who's supporting him? At least 4 votes, maybe 5. You need 7 to survive. How many do I have? Devin hesitated. Right now 3, maybe 4. Maya stood up and walked to the window, ignoring the surveillance cameras across the street. The city sparkled below her millions of lights in the darkness. Somewhere out there, the Whitmores were celebrating. Somewhere out there, Gregory Stone was planning his next move. Somewhere out there, people who had once believed in her were abandoning ship. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. "Baby, I'm praying for you. Stay strong." Maya's vision blurred. She hadn't cried since she was 7 years old, watching her mother emerge from the Patterson house with $17 and broken dignity. She had promised herself then that she would never be weak, never be vulnerable, never let them see her break. But the weight of everything was crushing her. The lawsuits, the frozen assets, the abandoned partnerships, the vandalized door, the surveillance cameras, the board betrayal, the media attacks. And underneath it all, the memory of Harrison's smirking face, Victoria's delighted laughter, Richard's casual cruelty. They were winning. Despite everything she had built, everything she had sacrificed, everything she had become, they were winning. The clock struck midnight. Maya sat alone in her panic room, surrounded by security monitors showing every angle of her building. Devon had gone home to get a few hours of sleep. Dorothy was resting in the guest room. The security team patrolled the hallways outside. But Maya couldn't sleep. She watched the monitors, watched the protesters still gathered outside their signs illuminated by streetlights, watched the surveillance team across the street, their cameras pointed at her windows, watched the news feed scroll past each headline worse than the last. Brightwave CEO accused of orchestrating smear campaign. Whitmore family fights back against fabricated evidence. Legal experts, Johnson's evidence may be inadmissible. Board members call for emergency leadership vote. Her phone rang. Unknown number again. "Hello? Ms. Johnson?" A male voice this time. Rough, threatening. "You should have stayed in your place. Now you're going to learn what happens to people who forget where they came from." "Who is this?" "Someone who knows where your mother lives. Little apartment in Alabama. Not much security there is there." Maya's blood turned to ice. "If you touch her..." "We're not going to touch her. We're just going to make sure she knows exactly how much danger her daughter put her in. Sweet dreams, Ms. Johnson." The line went dead. Maya's hands shook as she dialed her security chief. "I need a team sent to my mother's address in Birmingham, tonight. Full protection detail." "Ma'am, that's going to take..." "I don't care what it takes. Do it now." She hung up and stared at the phone in her trembling hands. This was no longer just a business fight. This was personal. This was dangerous. This was everything she had feared when she decided to take on the Whitmores. They were willing to go after her family. They were willing to threaten a 71-year-old woman. They were willing to do whatever it took to destroy her. For the first time since she was a child, Maya Johnson felt true fear. The clock read 2:17 a.m. when she finally broke. It wasn't a dramatic collapse. It wasn't screaming or throwing things or any of the outbursts they would have expected from her. It was quiet, private, the way she had learned to suffer her entire life. Maya slid down the wall of her panic room and wrapped her arms around her knees. The monitors flickered above her, showing a world that wanted her destroyed. And she cried. She cried for her mother, whose worst moment was being broadcast to millions. She cried for Dorothy, who had waited 30 years for justice only to face arrest. She cried for Henderson, who had lost everything because he dared to ask questions. She cried for every person the Whitmores had ever hurt, every career they had destroyed, every life they had ruined. She cried for herself, for the little girl in the pickup truck who had promised to become powerful enough that no one could ever make her feel small. That little girl had built an empire, had conquered corporate America, had become one of the most successful black women in history. And none of it mattered, because they were still winning, still laughing, still untouchable. Maya cried until there were no tears left, until her eyes burned and her throat ached and her chest felt hollow. Then she sat in the silence, emptied of everything but exhaustion. The monitors continued their silent surveillance. The city continued its indifferent glow. The world continued spinning, unaware that one woman was breaking apart in a room designed to keep her safe. The knock on the panic room door came at 4:33 a.m. "Maya, Dorothy's voice soft with concern. "Maya, are you in there?" Maya wiped her face quickly, straightening her clothes, trying to compose herself. "Coming?" She opened the door. Dorothy stood there in borrowed pajamas, her silver hair loose around her shoulders. Her eyes took in Maya's swollen face, the dried tears, the defeated posture. "Oh, child," Dorothy's voice cracked. "Oh, sweet child. I'm fine. You're not fine, and that's okay." Dorothy stepped into the panic room and wrapped her arms around Maya. "You've been carrying this weight alone for too long. It's okay to put it down for a minute." Maya stiffened at first. She couldn't remember the last time anyone had held her, couldn't remember the last time she had allowed herself to be vulnerable with another person. But Dorothy's arms were warm, safe, familiar in a way that reminded her of her own mother, and Maya let herself be held. "They're going to take everything," Maya whispered. "Everything I built, everything I worked for." Maybe they will, maybe they won't." Dorothy pulled back and looked into Maya's eyes. "But let me tell you something I learned in 31 years of watching powerful people destroy themselves. Pride comes before the fall, every single time. The Whitmores think they've won. They're celebrating right now, but that's exactly when they get careless. That's exactly when they make mistakes." "What mistakes? They've thought of everything. Have they?" Dorothy's eyes sharpened. "Because I've been thinking about that video, the fake one of you threatening Harrison." "What about it?" "They made it too fast. The gala was 3 days ago. They released that video within 48 hours. That's not enough time to create a convincing fake." "Not really." Maya's mind started to clear. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying they were sloppy, rushed, and when people rush, they leave evidence." Devon burst through the door, eyes wild with excitement. Maya, wake up, you need to see this." "I'm awake. What is it?" "I've been analyzing their fake video all night, frame by frame, and I found something." He thrust his tablet at her. "Look at this. Timestamp 7:43:15. The reflection in the brass door handle." Maya looked at the frozen frame. "I don't see anything." "That's exactly the point. The reflection shows an empty hallway. But the main footage shows you and Harrison in confrontation. The video is a composite. They layered fabricated figures over real security footage." "We already knew that." "Yes, but look at this." Devon zoomed in on the corner of the frame. "See that? That's a shadow. A shadow that doesn't match any figure in the shot." Maya squinted. "I still don't—" "It's the shadow of the person who operated the camera when they filmed the fake footage. They filmed actors recreating the scene in the actual hallway, probably the next day, then composited it over the original timestamp. But they forgot to remove all the evidence of the reshoot." Dorothy leaned in. "Can you identify whose shadow that is?" "Better." Devon's grin was savage. "I can identify the shoes. Custom Italian leather. Very distinctive pattern. Know who wears shoes exactly like that?" Maya's breath caught. "Who?" "Gregory Stone, the Whitmore's lawyer. He was there when they manufactured the evidence. He's not just defending them, he's complicit in criminal fraud." The panic room fell silent. Then Maya started to laugh. Quietly at first, then louder. The sound echoed off the walls, mixing with tears that were suddenly no longer about despair. "They got sloppy," she said. "Just like you said, Dorothy. They got sloppy." "What does this mean?" Dorothy asked. "It means their star lawyer just became their biggest liability." Maya grabbed Devon's tablet. "Get Dr. Walsh on the phone. I want this analysis verified within the hour. Then contact James. We're filing a countersuit. Not just against the Whitmores, against Gregory Stone personally. Maya Stone has never lost a case. He's the most powerful attorney in New York. He's never faced someone with evidence that he personally participated in manufacturing false evidence in a federal case. That's not just unethical. That's criminal. He could lose his license. He could go to prison." Devon's eyes widened. "You're going to turn their own weapon against them." "I'm going to do more than that." Maya's voice hardened. "I'm going to make them destroy each other. Stone will do anything to protect himself, including turning on the Whitmores." Dorothy's face lit up with understanding. "You're going to offer him a deal." "I'm going to offer him a choice. Testify against the Whitmores and keep his freedom, or go down with them. He'll never take it. He will when he realizes the alternative is 30 years in federal prison." Maya checked her watch. 5:17 a.m. "Devin, I need everything you have on Gregory Stone. Personal finances, professional connections, every skeleton in every closet." "What are you looking for?" "Leverage. Stone didn't become the most powerful attorney in New York by being clean. He has secrets. Everyone has secrets." Dorothy reached into her satchel. "I might be able to help with that. The Whitmores talked about Stone at family dinners. They thought I wasn't listening. They were wrong." She pulled out another journal. "Stone has been helping them hide money for 15 years. I have dates, amounts, account numbers. Everything." Maya stared at the journal. "You're telling me Stone is personally involved in the Whitmores' financial crimes?" "He's not their lawyer. He's their partner. They split everything 50-50. The room crackled with new energy. The hopelessness of 4 hours ago had been replaced by something else entirely. Hope, strategy, the scent of blood in the water. Maya's phone rang. Her lawyer, James. "Maya, the board meeting has been moved up. They're convening in 2 hours. Marcus Webb is pushing for an immediate vote." "Good. Good, Maya, they're trying to remove you." "They're trying, but they won't succeed." Maya's voice was steel. "Because by the time that meeting starts, I'm going to give the board something much more interesting to vote on than my removal." "What do you mean?" "I mean the Whitmores are about to learn what happens when you back a cornered animal into a wall." She hung up and turned to her team. "Devin, get that shadow analysis to Dr. Walsh immediately. Dorothy, compile everything you have on Stone's involvement in the financial schemes. I want a complete dossier ready within 90 minutes. "What are you going to do?" Maya walked to her closet and pulled out a suit. Not white this time, black, the color of endings. "I'm going to that board meeting, and I'm going to remind Marcus Webb and everyone else exactly who built this company." Dorothy caught her arm. "Maya, are you sure you're ready? A few hours ago I forgot who I was." Maya met Dorothy's eyes. "My mother didn't raise me to give up. She raised me to fight, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. They're going to throw everything they have at you." "Good, because I'm about to throw it all back." The clock read 6:47 a.m. when Maya stepped out of her building. The protesters were still there. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. The surveillance team across the street tracked her every move. But Maya didn't hide, didn't duck, didn't run. She walked straight through the chaos with her head held high, black suit cutting through the crowd like armor. One reporter managed to get close enough to shout a question. "Ms. Johnson, how do you respond to calls for your resignation?" Maya paused, looked directly into his camera. "I respond the same way I've responded to every obstacle in my life. I overcome it." Then she got into her car and headed toward the fight of her life. Behind her, the sun was rising over Manhattan. A new day, a new battle, and this time, Maya Johnson was ready. The Sunrise Tower boardroom filled with tension at 7:58 a.m. Maya arrived 2 minutes early. Black suit pressed, spine straight, eyes sharp. Every board member was already seated. Marcus Webb sat at the far end of the table, papers spread before him, avoiding her gaze. "Good morning," Maya said, taking her seat at the head of the table. "I understand there's an agenda item regarding leadership." Marcus cleared his throat. "Maya, given the circumstances, we felt it was prudent to discuss. The circumstances being that I exposed criminal activity by a company we were about to partner with. The circumstances being that our stock has dropped 31% in 4 days, that our largest client terminated their contract, that we're facing $300 million in lawsuits." Marcus finally met her eyes. "The circumstances being that your personal vendetta is destroying everything we've built." "My personal vendetta?" Maya's voice stayed calm. "Marcus, I was assaulted at a public event. A child poured wine on my head while his parents laughed and filmed it. That's not a vendetta. That's a justified response to criminal behavior. The markets don't care about justified responses. The markets care about stability. Then let me give you stability. Maya pulled a folder from her briefcase. Before you vote on anything, I need you to see this. She slid copies across the table to each board member. 12 pairs of eyes dropped to the documents. "What is this?" asked Patricia Hammond, the board's longest-serving member. "Proof that Gregory Stone, the Whitmore's attorney, personally participated in manufacturing the fake video evidence against me." The room went silent. "That shadow in the corner of frame 74315, it belongs to Stone himself. He was present during the recreation shoot. He's not just their lawyer, he's their co-conspirator." Marcus grabbed the document. "This could be manipulated, just like you're claiming their video was manipulated. Dr. Sarah Walsh from MIT authenticated it 3 hours ago. Her full report is attached. The metadata is clean. The analysis is sound." Maya leaned forward. "Stone filed a federal lawsuit based on evidence he personally helped fabricate. That's fraud upon the court. That's obstruction of justice. That's a minimum of 15 years in federal prison." Patricia looked up. "What exactly are you proposing?" "I'm proposing that instead of voting on my removal, we vote on something more productive." Maya stood and walked to the window. "In 45 minutes, we have an asset freeze hearing. Stone is representing the Whitmores, but Stone doesn't know that we know about his involvement. You want to use this during the hearing. I want to give Stone a choice: testify against the Whitmores or go to prison with them." Marcus shook his head. "Stone will never turn. He's been their lawyer for 20 years. He's been their partner for 20 years. There's a difference." Maya turned back to face the board. Dorothy Mae Collins documented everything. Stone took 50% of every illegal dollar they hid. That's not loyalty. That's self-interest. And when self-interest conflicts with self-preservation, people always choose survival. The boardroom fell silent as the implications sank in. "You're playing a dangerous game," Patricia said quietly. "They started this game. I'm just finishing it." Marcus put down the document. "Even if this works, even if Stone turns, the damage is done. Quantum canceled. Other partners are nervous. Our reputation will be fine." Maya's voice hardened. "Because by the end of today, the whole world will know that Sunrise Energy didn't just survive an attack by one of the most powerful families in America. We destroyed them." She checked her watch. 8:23 a.m. "Vote however you want, but know this. I built this company from nothing. I turned $7,000 into $2 billion. I did it by being smarter, faster, and more determined than anyone who tried to stop me. The Whitmores think they can break me with lawsuits and fake videos and media manipulation." She looked around the table, meeting every pair of eyes. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The vote took 3 minutes. 7-5 in Maya's favor. Marcus Webb couldn't meet her eyes as the result was announced. Patricia Hammond gave her a small nod of respect. "Now," Maya said, gathering her papers, "let's go end this." The courthouse steps were chaos at 9:15 a.m. Reporters swarmed from every direction as Maya's car pulled up. Camera flashes exploded like lightning. Microphones thrust toward her windows. Questions shouted over each other in a wall of noise. Maya stepped out and walked straight through them without breaking stride. "Ms. Johnson, do you have a response to the asset freeze motion?" "Ms. Johnson, are you concerned about losing this hearing? Ms. Johnson, what do you say to those calling you a fraud?" She said nothing. Let them shout. Let them speculate. In 30 minutes, they would have their answers. Devin met her at the courthouse entrance. "Stone's already inside. The Whitmores are with him. All three." All three. Richard, Victoria, and Harrison. They brought the kid for sympathy. Maya's jaw tightened. Of course they did. "There's something else. I just got word from our contact at the FBI. They're opening a formal investigation into the Whitmore Foundation, based on the evidence we submitted. How long until they act? Could be days, could be weeks. You know how the feds work." "I don't have weeks." Maya checked her phone. 9:22 a.m. I need them to act today. That's not how federal investigations. Then we make them act today. Maya stopped walking and turned to face him. Get me Agent Williams, the one who called yesterday about the financial documents. Maya, you can't just call a federal agent and ask them to speed up an investigation. I'm not going to ask them to speed up anything. I'm going to give them something they can't ignore. Devon stared at her. What do you have? Dorothy's final recording. The one she made 3 days before she left the Whitmore household. Maya's voice dropped. Richard Whitmore discussing how to make a whistleblower problem disappear permanently. Disappear permanently? Are you saying? I'm saying Richard Whitmore talked about having someone killed to protect his secrets, on tape. With witnesses. Devon went pale. Why didn't you mention this before? Because I wasn't sure I would need it. I was hoping the financial crimes would be enough. Maya started walking again. They weren't, so now we escalate. The courtroom was packed by 9:41 a.m. Maya took her seat at the defendant's table, her legal team arranged around her. Across the aisle, Gregory Stone sat with the Whitmores, his silver hair perfectly styled, his expression radiating confidence. Richard Whitmore caught Maya's eye and smirked. Victoria whispered something to her husband and laughed quietly. Harrison sat between them, dressed in a private school uniform, looking appropriately traumatized for the cameras. The judge entered at exactly 9:45 a.m. This hearing will come to order. We're here on the matter of Whitmore Energy Group versus Sunrise Clean Energy, specifically addressing the plaintiff's motion for emergency asset freeze. Judge Margaret Chen looked over her glasses at both tables. Mr. Stone, you may proceed. Gregory Stone rose with the fluid grace of a predator. Thank you, Your Honor. The facts of this case are clear and disturbing. Maya Johnson, CEO of Sunrise Energy, has engaged in a systematic campaign to destroy the Whitmore family's reputation using fabricated evidence and criminal means. He walked toward the judge's bench, every movement calculated. The so-called evidence presented by Ms. Johnson was gathered illegally by a former household employee who violated multiple confidentiality agreements. The recordings were made without consent. The documents were stolen from private files. Every piece of this supposed proof is fruit of a poisonous tree. Your Honor, Maya's lawyer James interjected, the evidence was gathered by a witness to criminal activity who had a legal and moral obligation to document what she observed. A witness who was paid by Ms. Johnson to infiltrate the Whitmore household. That's a lie, Maya said sharply. Judge Chen banged her gavel. Ms. Johnson, you will remain silent unless directly addressed. Stone continued smoothly. Furthermore, Your Honor, we have clear evidence that Ms. Johnson herself engaged in threatening behavior toward a minor child, a 14-year-old boy who felt so frightened by her aggression that he reacted defensively. He gestured toward Harrison, who on cue began to tear up. This child has been traumatized. His family has been destroyed by lies, and the woman responsible sits in this courtroom unrepentant and determined to continue her crusade of destruction. Maya felt her hands curl into fists beneath the table. James placed a calming hand on her arm. Your Honor, Stone concluded, we ask that all assets of Sunrise Energy be frozen pending full investigation of Ms. Johnson's criminal conduct. The public interest demands no less. Judge Chen nodded. Mr. Thornton, your response. James stood. Your Honor, before I address Mr. Kafshai. Stone's arguments, I have new evidence that the court must see immediately. Stone's confident expression flickered. Your Honor, any new evidence should have been submitted through proper channels. This evidence was authenticated 3 hours ago. It directly relates to Mr. Stone's fitness to represent the plaintiffs in this case. Judge Chen raised an eyebrow. Explain. James pulled out the shadow analysis documents. Your Honor, the video that Mr. Stone submitted as evidence of Ms. Johnson threatening Harrison Whitmore was digitally fabricated. Our forensic experts have confirmed this beyond any doubt. That's been alleged, Stone interrupted. Alleged, not proven. What hasn't been alleged until now, James continued, is that Mr. Stone himself was present during the fabrication of this evidence. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Judge Chen banged her gavel. Frame 74315 of the submitted video contains a shadow inconsistent with the figures shown. That shadow has been analyzed and matched to shoes worn by Mr. Stone in photographs taken the same week. James held up the evidence. Mr. Stone didn't just file false evidence, he helped create it. Stone's face went white. This is outrageous. This is a desperate attempt to Mr. Stone. Judge Chen's voice was ice. Is this allegation true? Absolutely not. I have never. Then you won't object to having your shoes examined by the court's forensic team. Stone froze. Maya watched his face, watched the calculation happening behind his eyes. The confidence that had radiated from him moments ago was crumbling. Your Honor, this is highly irregular. My client's rights. Your client's rights are not at issue. Your conduct is. Judge Chen leaned forward. Mr. Stone, if there is any truth to this allegation, you are facing immediate disbarment and criminal prosecution. I suggest you consider your next words very carefully. The courtroom held its breath. Stone looked at the Whitmores. Richard's face had gone from smug to panicked. Victoria was gripping Harrison's arm so hard the boy winced. They had expected an easy victory. They had expected their lawyer to crush Maya Johnson once and for all. They hadn't expected this. Your Honor, Stone said slowly, I request a brief recess to confer with my clients. Denied. You will answer the court's question now. Were you present during the creation of the video evidence submitted in this case? The silence stretched for an eternity. Then Gregory Stone did something no one expected. He turned and looked directly at Richard Whitmore. Their eyes met. And in that moment, decades of partnership, of shared secrets, of mutual corruption hung in the balance. Your Honor, Stone said, his voice barely above a whisper, I need to speak with federal authorities. Richard Whitmore shot to his feet. Gregory, what are you doing? Sit down, Mr. Whitmore, Judge Chen ordered. He's my lawyer. He can't sit down. Richard dropped into his seat, face purple with rage. Victoria looked like she might faint. Harrison had stopped his fake crying confusion, replacing the performance. Stone straightened his tie, composure cracking further with each passing second. Your Honor, I wish to invoke my Fifth Amendment rights regarding any questions about the video evidence. Additionally, I am withdrawing as counsel for the Whitmore family effective immediately. The courtroom exploded. Reporters rushed for the door's phones, already dialing editors. The gallery erupted in shocked whispers. Richard Whitmore was shouting something incoherent while Victoria tried to restrain him. Judge Chen banged her gavel repeatedly. Order! Order in this court! It took 3 full minutes to restore silence. Mr. Stone, Judge Chen said finally, you are dismissed from this proceeding. I am also referring this matter to the State Bar Association for immediate investigation. You will make yourself available to federal authorities within 24 hours, or a warrant will be issued for your arrest. Understood, Your Honor. Stone gathered his papers with shaking hands. He didn't look at the Whitmores as he walked past them. Richard grabbed his arm. Gregory, don't you dare— Get your hands off me. Stone's voice was cold. You're on your own. He walked out of the courtroom, leaving the Whitmore family stranded without legal representation. Judge Chen turned to the remaining parties. Given the extraordinary developments in this hearing, the plaintiff's motion for asset freeze is denied. Furthermore, I am ordering an immediate investigation into the conduct of Whitmore Energy Group and its principals. Your Honor, this is— Richard tried to speak. You are not represented by counsel, Mr. Whitmore. I suggest you find new representation before speaking further. Judge Chen stood. This hearing is adjourned. Maya walked out of the courthouse at 10:47 a.m. into a wall of cameras and screaming questions. But this time she stopped. This time she had something to say. Ladies and gentlemen, what you witnessed today was the beginning of the end for a family that believed their wealth made them untouchable. Gregory Stone, one of the most powerful attorneys in New York, just abandoned his clients because he knows what's coming. The evidence is overwhelming. The crimes are documented, and justice is finally being served. Ms. Johnson, what happens next? What happens next is that Richard Whitmore, Victoria Whitmore, and everyone who helped them commit their crimes will face the full consequences of their actions. Maya looked directly into the cameras. To everyone who has ever been hurt by people who thought their money put them above the law, I want you to know that today proves something important. The truth always wins. It may take 30 years. It may take patience and sacrifice and pain, but it always wins. Her phone buzzed. Devon's text was urgent. FBI just executed search warrants at Whitmore headquarters. They're moving now. Maya smiled for the cameras. If you'll excuse me, I have some work to do. The Whitmore Energy Building descended into chaos at 11:23 a.m. Federal agents poured through the lobby, search warrants in hand, systematically sealing offices and seizing computers. Employees streamed out of the building, some crying, some shocked, all of them suddenly unemployed. Maya watched the coverage from her car parked 3 blocks away. Devon sat beside her, both of them tracking multiple news feeds simultaneously. "Stone's already talking," Devon reported. "His lawyer called the FBI 20 minutes ago. He's offering full cooperation in exchange for immunity." "What's he giving them?" "Everything. Financial records, offshore accounts, bribery schemes, the Henderson frame-up. He's got documentation going back 15 years. Devon shook his head in disbelief. "You were right. Self-preservation beats loyalty every time." "What about the recording? The one about making someone disappear?" "That's what accelerated everything. The agent called it extremely concerning. They're treating this as a potential homicide investigation now." Maya's stomach tightened. "Potential homicide, does that mean—" "They're looking into the death of a man named Robert Martinez, former Whitmore accountant, died in a car accident in 2019. At the time, it was ruled accidental." Devon pulled up an article on his tablet. But Martinez had been asking questions about financial irregularities, the same kind of questions Henderson asked before they framed him. They killed him. That's what the FBI is trying to determine. And if Dorothy's recording proves Richard Whitmore ordered it... Devon trailed off. The implications were staggering. What had started as a business dispute had become something much darker. Murder. Conspiracy. Decades of crimes hidden behind a veneer of charity galas and foundation work. Maya's phone rang. Dorothy's number. "Dorothy, where are you?" "I'm watching the news." The elderly woman's voice was thick with emotion. "Is it really happening? Are they really going down?" "It's happening. Stone flipped. The FBI is searching their headquarters right now." Silence on the line. Then quiet sobbing. "Dorothy, are you okay?" 31 years, Ms. Johnson. 31 years I kept those records. 31 years I watched them hurt people and get away with it. And now... Her voice broke completely. "And now they're getting what they deserve." "I never thought I'd see this day. I thought I'd die with those secrets still locked away. I thought nobody would ever believe me." "I believed you, Dorothy. And so did the FBI." Another silence. Then, "Ms. Johnson, there's something I never told you." "About Robert Martinez." Maya's grip tightened on the phone. "What about him?" "The night before his accident, he called me. He said he'd found something big, something that proved the Whitmores were laundering money through their foundation. He was scared. He said if anything happened to him, I should find his backup files." "Did you find them?" "I didn't look. I was too afraid. But I know where they are." Dorothy's voice steadied. "His sister, Maria Martinez. She lives in Queens. Robert gave her a safety deposit box key 2 days before he died." Devon was already typing. "I've got an address, 23 minutes away." "Dorothy, thank you. Stay safe. We'll handle this." Maya ended the call and turned to her driver. "Queens, now." Maria Martinez's apartment was modest and clean. The middle-aged woman opened her door at 12:17 p.m., eyes suspicious until she saw Maya's face. "You're the woman from the news, the one fighting the Whitmores." "I am. May I come in?" Maria hesitated, then stepped aside. "I've been waiting for someone to come asking about Robert. 4 years I've been waiting." "You knew it wasn't an accident." My brother was the most careful driver I ever knew. He didn't drink. He didn't speed. He didn't take risks. Maria's eyes filled with tears. And 2 days before he died, he gave me a key and told me if anything happened to him, I should hide it. Hide it until someone came looking. Someone who could actually do something about what he found. Maria nodded slowly. He said the Whitmores were connected. Police, judges, politicians. He said going to the authorities would get him killed. He was right to be afraid. But they killed him anyway. Maria's voice hardened. He was my little brother, my only family, and they killed him for asking questions about their dirty money. She walked to her bedroom and returned with a small key. Safety deposit box at First National Bank, box 4471. Whatever's in there, I want them to pay. I want them to pay for what they did to Robert. Maya took the key carefully. They're going to pay, I promise you that. The safety deposit box at First National Bank contained a single flash drive. Maya inserted it into her laptop at 1:34 p.m., Devon looking over her shoulder. The files began loading. Spreadsheets, emails, account numbers, transfer records. My God, Devon whispered. Robert Martinez was a genius. He had traced everything. Every dollar laundered through the Whitmore Foundation, every bribe paid to officials, every payment to the law firm that had helped cover their tracks, Gregory Stone's law firm. But that wasn't all. Look at this, Devon said, pointing to a folder labeled Insurance. Maya clicked it open. Video files, dozens of them. The first one showed Richard Whitmore in what appeared to be his private office. He was on the phone, voice clearly audible. I don't care how you do it. Martinez is becoming a problem. Problems disappear. That's what I pay you for. The second video showed a meeting between Richard and two men Maya didn't recognize. They were discussing the accident and making sure no loose ends remained. The third video was a direct communication between Richard Whitmore and Gregory Stone, planning how to cover up Martinez's death and destroy any evidence he might have gathered. He recorded them, Maya said softly. Robert Martinez recorded his own murderers, planning his death. He must have had cameras in the office, hidden ones. Devon's voice shook. He knew they were going to kill him, so he made sure they couldn't get away with it. But they did get away with it for 4 years. Not anymore. Maya picked up her phone and dialed Agent Williams. This is Maya Johnson. I have new evidence in the Whitmore case. Evidence of murder conspiracy. Video evidence. Murder? The agent's voice sharpened. What exactly do you have? Richard Whitmore ordering the death of Robert Martinez and planning the cover-up with Gregory Stone. Maya paused. I'm sending it to you now. And Agent Williams. You might want to move fast. Once Stone finds out this evidence exists, he's going to try to disappear. Understood. Where are you? First National Bank on Madison Avenue. Stay there. I'm sending a team to secure that evidence. Maya ended the call and looked at Devon. It's over, she said quietly. It's really over. News of Richard Whitmore's arrest broke at 3:47 p.m. Maya watched from her office as federal agents led him out of his Manhattan mansion in handcuffs. His face was a mask of fury and disbelief. The man who had laughed while his son poured wine on a maid's head. The man who had destroyed careers with a phone call. The man who had ordered at least one murder. Finally facing consequences. Victoria Whitmore was arrested 20 minutes later, streaming mascara, as she screamed at the agents that they were making a terrible mistake. Gregory Stone was picked up trying to board a private plane to the Cayman Islands. His immunity deal evaporated the moment the Martinez evidence surfaced. Harrison Whitmore was placed in protective custody away from the parents who had raised him to believe cruelty was his birthright. By 5 p.m., it was the only story on every news channel in America. Devon burst into Maya's office at 5:23 p.m. Our stock just recovered everything it lost, and then some. We're up 18% from where we were before the gala. And our partners, Quantum called. They want to reinstate the contract. 3 other companies that pulled back are asking for meetings. Devon grinned. Turns out taking down a corrupt dynasty is good for business. Maya should have felt triumphant, should have felt vindicated, but all she felt was tired. Bone-deep exhaustion from days of fighting, strategizing, surviving. Her phone rang. Her mother's number. "Baby." The elderly woman's voice was trembling. "Baby, I'm watching the news. I see them taking that man away in handcuffs." "I see it too, Mama. You did this. My baby girl did this. I had help. Dorothy, Henderson, Robert Martinez, even though he's gone. A lot of people fought this fight. But you finished it. You stood up when they tried to knock you down, just like I always knew you would." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "Mama, they put your record on TV. They tried to make you look bad." "Let them try. I raised a daughter who took down one of the most powerful families in America. That's my legacy. Not some old mistake from 30 years ago. You." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then her mother said the words Maya had been waiting her whole life to hear. "I am so proud of you, baby girl. Your grandmother would be proud. Everyone who ever told us we weren't good enough would be proud." Maya closed her eyes and let the tears fall. "Thank you, Mama. Thank you for everything." Dorothy arrived at Maya's office at 6:15 p.m. The elderly woman looked 10 years younger than she had that morning. The weight of 31 years of secrets had finally been lifted. "I saw the news," Dorothy said, settling into a chair. "I saw them take Richard away, and Victoria and Stone. It's happening. Everything you documented, everything you preserved, it's bringing them down. Not just my documentation. That young man, Robert Martinez, he died trying to expose them, and his evidence finished what I couldn't." Maya nodded. "His sister gave me his files. He recorded everything, including Richard ordering his murder." Dorothy's eyes widened. "I always suspected, but I never had proof." "You had enough proof to start this. Without you, none of this would have happened." Maya reached across and took the older woman's hands. "You're a hero, Dorothy. I want you to know that. Whatever comes next, whatever the history books say about this moment, you're the one who made it possible." Dorothy squeezed her hands, tears rolling down her weathered cheeks. "I was just the help. That's what they always called me. Just the help." "You were never just anything." Maya's voice was fierce. "You were the witness they never saw coming, the conscience they couldn't silence, the justice they couldn't buy. And now we make sure this never happens again." The sun was setting over Manhattan when Maya finally left her office. The day had been the longest of her life, from the board meeting to the courthouse to the Martinez files to the arrests. 14 hours of fighting, winning, watching an empire crumble. But one thing remained undone. She found Henrietta in the service entrance of the Grand Meridian Hotel, the same place Maya had entered as a maid just days ago. "Ms. Johnson." Henrietta's eyes went wide. "What are you doing here?" "I came to see you." Maya held out an envelope. "That granddaughter of yours, the one studying engineering. I want to pay for the rest of her education, all of it." Henrietta stared at the envelope. "I can't accept this." "Yes, you can, because you're the one who told me to keep my head down that night. You're the one who reminded me why people like us have to survive in places like that." Maya pressed the envelope into her hands. "Your granddaughter is going to build bridges. Let me help her build them." Henrietta's hands trembled as she took the envelope. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll accept it. Say your granddaughter will change the world. Say that everything we went through means something." Tears streamed down Henrietta's face as she nodded. "Thank you, Miss Johnson. Thank you." Maya walked back to her car as the last light faded from the sky. Tomorrow there would be more work. More legal battles, more media attention. The Whitmores would fight back from prison. Their allies would try to salvage what remained of the dynasty. But tonight, Maya Johnson allowed herself a moment of peace. She had done what she promised herself 31 years ago in a rusty pickup truck. She had become powerful enough that no one could make her feel small. And she had used that power to make sure others would never feel small either. 6 months passed like a thunderstorm clearing the sky. Maya stood at the window of an empty building on Madison Avenue at 7:23 a.m., watching construction crews begin another day of renovation. The former bank headquarters was being transformed, its marble floors being polished, its grand staircase being restored, its empty rooms being filled with purpose. Dorothy Mae Collins walked up beside her, moving slower than she had 6 months ago, but standing taller than Maya had ever seen her. "Hard to believe this will be ready in 2 weeks," Dorothy said quietly. "The Dorothy Mae Collins Justice Institute." Maya turned to face her. "Your name on a building that will help people for generations. I still think you should put your name on it instead." "My name is on enough things. This one belongs to you." Dorothy's eyes glistened. 72 years old. Never thought I'd see my name on anything except a paycheck. You earned it. Every journal entry, every recording, every night you stayed quiet so you could keep documenting. Maya put her arm around the older woman's shoulders. "This building exists because you refuse to let the truth die." A construction foreman approached. "Ms. Johnson, the legal clinic space is ready for final inspection, and the secure archive room has been completed to your specifications." "Thank you, Marcus. We'll be right there." Maya and Dorothy walked through the building together, past rooms that would soon house lawyers defending whistleblowers, counselors supporting victims of workplace abuse, researchers documenting patterns of corporate discrimination. Every space had been designed with one purpose: to make sure what happened to the Whitmore's victims would never happen again. "The archive will hold everything," Maya explained as they entered the secure room. "Your journals, Henderson's files, Robert Martinez's evidence, every piece of documentation that brought them down. So people can learn from it. So people can be protected by it. Every worker who faces retaliation, every employee who witnesses wrongdoing, they'll know their evidence has a safe home, a place where the powerful can't reach it." Dorothy ran her fingers along the steel shelving that would hold decades of preserved truth. Robert Martinez would have loved this. He made it possible. His sister is coming to the opening ceremony. She's going to speak about what happened to him. Maya paused. "The FBI confirmed last month Richard Whitmore ordered his murder. The 2 men in the video have both been arrested. They're testifying against Richard in exchange for reduced sentences. So it's really murder charges now, not just conspiracy. First-degree murder, along with 47 other federal charges." Maya's voice hardened. "He's never getting out. None of them are." The trials had been the story of the year. Gregory Stone had testified for 17 days, detailing every crime he had helped the Whitmores commit over 2 decades. His immunity deal protected him from prison, but his law license was permanently revoked. His reputation was destroyed. His wife left him. His children stopped speaking to him. Maya had watched his testimony from the gallery, seeing the man who had once terrified corporate America reduced to a broken shell, selling out his former clients to save himself. Richard Whitmore's trial had lasted 3 months. The evidence was overwhelming. Dorothy's recordings, the Martinez files, Stone's testimony, financial documents from 12 different countries. A parade of former employees describing decades of abuse. The jury deliberated for 4 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all counts. Richard Whitmore would spend the rest of his life in federal prison. Victoria Whitmore was convicted separately on charges of fraud, conspiracy, and accessory to cover-up. 25 years. She had screamed at the judge that they were making a terrible mistake, that she was Victoria Whitmore, that people like her didn't go to prison. The judge had replied that people like her were exactly who prisons were designed for. Harrison Whitmore's fate had been more complicated. At 14, he couldn't be tried as an adult. But the psychological evaluations had revealed the depth of damage his parents had inflicted. He had been raised to believe cruelty was his birthright, that people existed to serve him, that consequences were for other people. Maya had received a letter from his court-appointed guardian 3 months ago. Harrison was in intensive therapy. He had watched his parents' trials. He had seen the evidence of their crimes. He had begun slowly, painfully to understand what his family had really been. The letter asked if Maya would be willing to meet with him. She hadn't replied yet. Devin found her in the archive room at 8:15 a.m., tablet in hand. The RSVP list for the Institute opening is over capacity. We've had to move to a larger venue for the reception. How many? 800 confirmed, and requests keep coming in. Devin scrolled through his tablet. CEOs, politicians, civil rights leaders, journalists. Everyone wants to be associated with this. Everyone wants to be on the right side of history. Maya smiled slightly. Funny how that works. There's something else. Devin hesitated. The Civil Rights Alliance called. They want to give you their Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm 41 years old. Isn't that a bit premature for lifetime achievement? They say what you've accomplished in the past 6 months is worth more than most people achieve in entire careers. Maya considered it. Where's the ceremony? That's the thing. Devin met her eyes. It's at the Grand Meridian Hotel, the same ballroom where the Whitmore Gala was held. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. The same ballroom, the same place where Harrison had poured wine on her head, where Victoria had filmed her humiliation, where Richard had told her the gala wasn't designed for her kind. They want me to go back there. They want you to reclaim it, to stand on that same floor as a triumphant figure instead of a victim. Devin paused. You don't have to accept. I can tell them you're not interested. Maya was quiet for a long moment. She thought about that night. The cold wine running down her face, the laughter echoing through the ballroom, the hundreds of phones recording her humiliation. She thought about walking out with dignity, about canceling the deal, about watching the Whitmore empire burn. Tell them yes. Are you sure? I'm sure. If I'm going to accept a Lifetime Achievement Award, I want to do it in the exact place where they tried to destroy me. Maya's voice strengthened. I want everyone to see that you can't break someone by pouring wine on their head. You can't silence someone by laughing at them. You can't win by being cruel. I'll confirm immediately. And Devin, make sure Dorothy has a seat in the front row. The Dorothy May Collins Justice Institute opened on a Tuesday morning in October. Maya arrived at 9:47 a.m. to find a crowd already gathered outside. Former Whitmore employees who had shared their stories. Workers from other companies who had faced similar abuse, civil rights activists, journalists, and ordinary people who had followed the case and wanted to be part of something meaningful. Dorothy stood at the entrance wearing a deep purple dress that Maya had helped her pick out. She looked nervous, but proud. Are you ready? Maya asked. I've been ready for 31 years. They walked through the front doors together. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was brief, but powerful. Maya spoke about the Institute's mission. Henderson spoke about the 8 years he had lost, and the chance he now had to help others avoid his fate. Maria Martinez spoke about her brother Robert, his courage, his sacrifice, his evidence that had finally brought the Whitmores to justice. When Dorothy took the microphone, the crowd fell completely silent. I spent most of my life being invisible, she began, her voice steady, despite her trembling hands. I served powerful people who never saw me as human. I documented their crimes because I believed someday, somehow the truth would matter. She paused, gathering herself. For 31 years I wondered if I was wrong, if the powerful always won, if people like me would never see justice. Her eyes found Maya in the crowd. Then I met a woman who had been invisible too, who had grown up scrubbing floors like I did, who had built an empire but never forgot where she came from. Dorothy's voice cracked with emotion. Maya Johnson showed me that the truth does matter, that justice can come even if it takes 30 years, that one person's records can bring down the mightiest dynasty. Applause erupted through the hall. This institute carries my name, but it belongs to everyone who ever suffered in silence, everyone who ever kept records, hoping someone would believe them, everyone who ever faced cruelty from people who thought their money made them untouchable. Dorothy raised her chin. Today we tell them they were wrong. Today we build something that will protect the next generation. Today we make sure that what happened to us will never happen again. The standing ovation lasted 3 full minutes. Maya watched Dorothy accept the applause with tears streaming down her face. The woman who had been invisible for 7 decades was finally being seen, and it was beautiful. The afternoon brought an unexpected visitor. Maya was in her office at Sunrise Tower when her assistant called. "Ms. Johnson, there's a young man here to see you. He says his name is Harrison Whitmore." Maya's heart stopped. "Harrison? He's alone. No lawyers, no media. He asked if you would speak with him for 5 minutes." Every instinct told her to say no, to refuse, to never look at the face of the boy who had poured wine on her head while his parents laughed. But something made her pause. "Send him in." Harrison Whitmore entered her office looking nothing like the arrogant teenager she remembered. He was taller now, thinner, dressed in simple clothes instead of prep school blazers. His eyes were red-rimmed, his hands shook. "Ms. Johnson," his voice cracked. "Thank you for seeing me. I haven't decided if I'm glad I did yet." "I understand." He stood awkwardly in the middle of her office, not sitting down, not coming closer. "I came to apologize. Apologize for what I did to you at the gala, for the wine, for the things I said." Harrison's jaw tightened. "For being exactly what my parents raised me to be." Maya studied him carefully, looking for the smirk, the arrogance, the cruelty that had gleamed in his eyes that night. She didn't see any of it. "Why now? It's been 6 months." "Because it took me 6 months to understand what I did, what my family did." Harrison's voice broke. "I watched the trials, all of them. I heard the testimonies, the people my parents destroyed, the man my father had killed, Dorothy's recordings." He wiped his eyes roughly. "I heard my father order someone's murder, Ms. Johnson. I heard my mother laugh about ruining people's lives. I saw who they really were, and I realized—" He couldn't finish. "You realized you were becoming them." "I was already them. That night at the gala, I wasn't thinking of you as a person. You were just entertainment, something to laugh at, someone beneath me." Harrison shook his head. "My therapist says I was taught to see the world that way, that it wasn't my fault, but it was my choice. I chose to pour that wine. I chose to laugh. I chose to be cruel." Maya felt something shift in her chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, but something. "What do you want from me, Harrison?" "Nothing. I don't deserve anything from you." He took a deep breath. "I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, really sorry. Not because my lawyers told me to apologize, not because it might help my public image, because I was wrong, because what I did was evil, and because you deserved better than what my family gave you." Silence stretched between them. Then Harrison reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. "This is everything I have. My trust fund was seized, but I had some money saved. It's not much, but I want to donate it to the Institute, to Dorothy's Institute." Maya took the envelope. Inside was a check for $47,000. "Harrison, I know it doesn't fix anything. I know money can't undo what happened, but it's all I have, and I want it to go somewhere that helps people instead of hurting them." His eyes met hers. "I want to be different than my parents. I want to be better. I don't know if I can be, but I have to try." Maya looked at the check for a long moment. Then she looked at the broken boy standing before her. "This will help a lot of people." "Good. Harrison, I can't tell you that I forgive you. I don't know if I ever will. What you did that night changed my life. It changed a lot of lives." "I know. But I can tell you this." Maya set the check on her desk. "The fact that you came here, the fact that you watched those trials, the fact that you're trying to understand what your family did and why it was wrong." She paused. "That means something. It doesn't erase the past, but it might mean something for your future." Harrison nodded, tears rolling down his cheeks. "Thank you, Ms. Johnson." "Don't thank me yet. You've got a long road ahead. Proving you're different from your parents takes more than one apology and one donation." "I know. I'm willing to do the work." "Then do it, and maybe years from now, when you've proven who you really are, we can have a different conversation." Harrison wiped his face and straightened his shoulders. "I'd like that." He turned to leave, then stopped at the door. "Ms. Johnson." For what it's worth, I think you're the strongest person I've ever met. My father thought he could break you with his money and his lawyers and his lies, but you broke him instead." Harrison's voice was quiet but steady. "I hope someday I can be even half as strong as you." He left without waiting for a response. Maya sat alone in her office for a long time after he was gone. The Lifetime Achievement Award ceremony arrived on a cold night in November. Maya spent the afternoon preparing in her penthouse, trying on 3 different gowns before settling on midnight blue, the same color as the uniform she had worn at the gala. Her mother arrived at 5 p.m., having flown in from Alabama for the ceremony. "Let me look at you." The elderly woman circled her daughter, eyes shining. "My beautiful girl, my powerful, incredible girl." "Mama, you're going to make me cry and ruin my makeup." "Then cry. You've earned the right to cry happy tears." Her mother took her hands. "I never told you this, but after that night at the gala, after they showed my arrest record on television, I almost gave up. I almost told you to settle, to walk away, to stop fighting. Why didn't you?" "Because I remembered what I told you when you were 7 years old, in that pickup truck outside the Patterson house." Her mother's voice trembled. "I told you that one day you'd be so powerful that nobody could make you feel small, and I knew that if I told you to quit, I'd be breaking that promise." Maya pulled her mother into a fierce embrace. "You never broke any promises, Mama. You gave me everything I needed to become who I am." "You became who you are all by yourself, baby girl. I just gave you a place to start." The Grand Meridian Ballroom looked different at 7:47 p.m. Maya paused at the entrance, taking in the space where everything had changed 6 months ago. The same crystal chandeliers, the same marble floors, the same towering windows. But everything felt different, because she was different. Devin appeared at her side. "They're ready for you. Dorothy's already seated in the front row. Your mother's next to her. Henderson, Maria Martinez, everyone who helped bring down the Whitmores. And the press. Every major network. This is the most anticipated speech of the year." Maya straightened her shoulders. "Then let's not keep them waiting." She walked into the ballroom. The reaction was immediate. Every person in the room rose to their feet. Applause erupted like thunder. Cameras flashed from every direction. Maya walked the same path she had walked 6 months ago. The same floor that had been stained with wine. The same route she had taken with dignity, despite the humiliation. But this time, the crowd parted in respect instead of shock. This time, the phones were recording triumph instead of cruelty. This time, she walked toward a stage where she would be honored instead of humiliated. Dorothy caught her eye from the front row. The older woman was crying openly, one hand pressed to her heart. Maya's mother sat beside her, pride radiating from every line of her face. Henderson nodded solemnly as she passed. Maria Martinez whispered something that looked like, "Thank you." The chairman of the Civil Rights Alliance waited at the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor to present this year's Lifetime Achievement Award to a woman who needs no introduction. A woman who built a billion-dollar empire from nothing. A woman who faced humiliation and responded with grace. A woman who exposed decades of corporate corruption and criminal conspiracy. A woman who reminds us all that justice is possible when truth meets courage." He turned to face her. "Maya Johnson, please accept this award on behalf of everyone who has ever been told they don't belong, everyone who has been laughed at by those in power, everyone who has been made to feel small by those who mistake wealth for worth." Maya took the crystal trophy in her hands. It was heavy, solid, real. She turned to face the crowd. 6 months ago, I stood in this very room wearing a maid's uniform. A 14-year-old boy poured wine on my head. His mother filmed it laughing. His father told me this gala wasn't designed for my kind. The ballroom was absolutely silent. They thought they had won. They thought their money and their name and their power made them untouchable. They thought a black woman who grew up in a trailer park could never challenge a dynasty that had ruled for generations. Maya's voice grew stronger. They were wrong. They were wrong because they didn't understand where real power comes from. It doesn't come from inherited wealth. It doesn't come from social connections. It doesn't come from the ability to humiliate those you consider beneath you. She looked at Dorothy, at her mother, at Henderson, at Maria. Real power comes from truth, from courage, from the refusal to be silent in the face of injustice, from the willingness to document crimes even when no one is listening, from the determination to fight even when the odds seem impossible. Dorothy Mae Collins kept records for 31 years because she believed the truth would matter someday. Robert Martinez gave his life to expose corruption. David Henderson lost everything because he dared to ask questions. My mother worked 3 jobs so her daughter could have a chance at education. Maya raised the trophy. This award doesn't belong to me. It belongs to everyone who ever stood firm when powerful people tried to break them. Everyone who kept records. Everyone who spoke truth. Everyone who refused to accept that wealth means worth. The Whitmores are in prison tonight. Their lawyer lost everything. Their legacy is destroyed, and in its place, we have built something better. An institute that will protect whistleblowers. A movement that demands corporate accountability. A reminder that justice can come even if it takes 30 years. She looked directly into the cameras. To everyone watching who has ever been made to feel small by someone who thought their money made them better. To everyone who has stayed silent because they thought no one would believe them. To everyone who has kept records hoping someday the truth would matter. Maya's voice rang through the ballroom. Your day is coming. Keep your records. Guard your truth. Stand firm in your dignity. Because the powerful are never as untouchable as they believe. And the truth always wins. Always. The standing ovation lasted 7 minutes. Maya stood at the podium, tears streaming down her face, watching the room erupt in sustained applause. Her mother was sobbing. Dorothy was holding Henderson's hand. Maria Martinez had both arms raised in triumph. Cameras flashed endlessly. The moment was being broadcast around the world. But Maya wasn't thinking about the cameras or the broadcast or the millions of people watching. She was thinking about a 7-year-old girl in a rusted pickup truck. A girl who watched her mother emerge from a mansion with $17 and broken dignity. A girl who made a silent promise that one day she would be powerful enough that no one could ever make her feel small. That promise had been kept, not just for herself, for Dorothy, for Henderson, for Maria, for every person the Whitmores had ever hurt, for every person who would be protected by the institute bearing Dorothy's name, for every future whistleblower who would find safety instead of destruction, for every child who would grow up knowing that truth could defeat power. Maya Johnson had built more than a company. She had built justice. The after-party stretched until midnight. Maya spent hours accepting congratulations, posing for photos, giving interviews. Every conversation reminded her how far she had come, how much she had overcome, how thoroughly she had transformed tragedy into triumph. Finally, close to 1 a.m., she found herself alone on the ballroom balcony. The city sparkled below her, millions of lights in the darkness. Somewhere out there, workers were finishing late shifts. Families were putting children to bed. Domestic workers were cleaning houses and offices and hotels, invisible to the people they served. Her mother found her there. You should be celebrating, baby girl. This is your night. I am celebrating. In my own way. Her mother stood beside her, looking out at the same view. What are you thinking about? That pickup truck. The Patterson house. $17 and a smile forced through tears. That was a long time ago. It was yesterday. Maya turned to face her mother. Every time I walk into a room full of wealthy people, I think about that day. Every time someone looks through me like I don't exist, I remember how it felt to be invisible. Every time I see someone treating their staff like furniture, I see you, coming out of that house, trying so hard to hold yourself together. Maya, I didn't do this for revenge, Mama. I want you to know that. The Whitmores deserved what they got, but that's not why I fought so hard. Why then? Maya's voice softened. Because you taught me that dignity can't be taken unless you surrender it. Because Dorothy showed me that truth can outlast power. Because I had to prove that all those years you sacrificed, all those humiliations you endured meant something. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. They meant everything, baby girl. They meant you. They stood together in silence, mother and daughter, looking out at a city that had tried to break them both, and failed. Dorothy appeared on the balcony at 1:17 a.m. "I've been looking everywhere for you two." She joined them at the railing. "Some party in there. Never seen so many important people in one room." "You're the most important person in that room," Maya said. "Nonsense." But Dorothy smiled. The three women stood together. 3 generations of black women who had been told they didn't belong in rooms like this, who had been made to feel small by people who mistook wealth for worth. Tonight they belonged. Tonight they had won. "What happens now?" Dorothy asked quietly. "The Institute is open. The Whitmores are in prison. The story is over. What comes next?" Maya thought about it for a long moment. What comes next is that we keep going. We help more whistleblowers. We support more victims. We expose more corruption. The Whitmores weren't the only powerful family abusing their workers. They weren't the only company hiding crimes behind charity galas. There are more of them out there. Hundreds. Thousands. And now they know someone is watching. Someone is documenting. Someone will hold them accountable. Maya's voice hardened. They thought they could pour wine on me and I would stay quiet. They thought they could laugh and face no consequences. They were wrong about me, and they'll be wrong about the next person too. Because of what you built. Because of what we built, together. Dorothy reached out and took Maya's hand. Maya reached out and took her mother's. 3 women, 3 generations, one unbreakable chain of courage and truth. The city sparkled below them. Somewhere out there, workers were keeping records of abuse. Whistleblowers were gathering evidence. Victims were finding their voices. And tomorrow, the Dorothy Mae Collins Justice Institute would open its doors to help them all. Maya looked at the women beside her, at everything they had overcome, at everything they had built. "You know what?" she said finally. "I think the story isn't over. I think it's just beginning." Her mother squeezed her hand. "It always is, baby girl. It always is." They stood together until dawn broke over Manhattan, 3 ordinary women who had done extraordinary things. The sun rose pink and gold over the city, painting the sky with the colors of a new day, a new chapter, a new beginning. And somewhere in that light, the legacy of truth and courage and justice stretched forward into a future where no one would ever have to suffer in silence again. Because Maya Johnson had proven something that night in the ballroom, and again in the courtroom, and again with every document and recording and testimony. The powerful are never as untouchable as they believe. The truth always matters, and justice always comes for those who have the courage to demand it, always.